everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. I'm in my happy place. I'm sitting here behind the wheel of my trusty old 1989 Daytona stock car. But I'm not sure if this is going to be a happy video or a sad video. I kind of think it's kind of a happy video. The old girl has come to the end of the road. It's turned its last lap. The other week we ran a 50 lapper at Peterborough Speedway with it. I pulled it out of the barn just because there was a 50 lapper, and we went and we got 4 new tires for it, and we did a bunch of work. We put a better motor in it. Not a very good motor, but a better motor than what was in it. I'm down to dregs now. I don't have too much stuff left. And we went out there, man, and we put on a hell of a show for the people that love this old car. We run second all night, and right at the end on a restart, we got passed, but we still came home in the money third. You know, compared to some of the stuff that is out there, this thing races against. There's some pretty serious race cars at that place, and a lot of cars that are worked on by some pretty clever people. You know, we got a pretty darn good field of race cars up there. But anyway, I'm supposed to be retired from racing. This car was up sitting in the corner of the barn, you know, and well, you know, I'd go up there. It was kind of kept in an operational state, which is probably a mistake, because there's nothing I love more than driving stock cars, right? But anyway, so I'd go up there in the barn once in a while and start it up, and if any of my friends were over, I'd take them over and start it up for them. And finally, I mean, we have a 50 lapper every year at Peterborough, and for whatever reason, this year it was the second night of the season, you know. So we decided that we wanted to have a crack at it, and we went and did it. But man, it was a ton of work. My race ready car, we worked on it for a week and spent a whole lot of money on it. Well, that's racing for you. I'm not saying I regret that I did it. I love it, and I would do it every week if I could. And that's the problem. I've just got too many hobbies, too many projects, too many different things pulling me in all different directions. So this time I'm retired for good. And to make sure, we're going to take this car apart and put it out in the field. I love the old thing, and it's I don't know. It's such a good race car. It's still fast. It still runs good, but I just can't. I can't keep doing this to myself. Every time I go do it, I got to put the box back on the trailer, get all my stuff out, put all the stuff in the back of the truck. It's too time consuming. So what we're going to do, this old thing is going to be sitting back in a special little corner. It's not going to be out in a cornfield, you know. We got a nice little corner that Deb and me picked out. So when I'm out riding around on the lawnmower, I'll go past it 100 times and get the smile. Every time we take the dogs out for a walk, it'll be sitting out there with its happy little face. So I'm considering this a happy ending. And you know what? This old thing went out on top. And the answer, why don't you just sell it? The answer is no, because this car is a part of me. It's a legend. The car, not the driver. I have nothing to do with it. A trained chimpanzee could win races with this car. It's all the car. And it's a part of me, man. And it has to stay around here. I sold the other car. We sold the Neon, and it's still out there. Young fella's got it, and he's over there racing it every week at Peterborough Speedway. So it lives on, and this one will live on too. It's just not going to be out there racing. I'm going to be selfish and keep it all to myself. There's a lot of good parts on it still that me and other people can use. So we'll take it apart, and I'm going to keep it so that it rolls. So when it's in its little corner out the back, I could pull it out once a year, you know, and mow all the weeds around it and stuff, and push it back in. So we're going to kind of go through it step by step and show you how we're going to convert it from a race car to a museum. Well, here we go, people. This is the big moment. This is the last time this poor old car will ever move under its own power. It's driven into the garage. I got to turn it around so I can get the power plant out of the front of it. So we're going to start it up, take it for a little spin out around the back for the last time, and then we're going to bring it back in here and do what we got to do. Come on. Engine light comes on now because we've got a stock factory computer in it. We took all our trick ones out. It's the saddest of times and it's the happiest of times, if that makes any sense. There we go, she's taking her last lap. Man, that motor is sick. It stinks like oil in here. This old thing like anybody in the world could never love a car. It's been a hell of a ride for 14 years, I can tell you that. Oh, there goes the Vulture. She's come into the shop for the last time, and next time you see her, it'll be in its forever home out in the yard. First thing we're going to do is get the water out of it so we can get the radiator out, and then we'll just start taking stuff. We'll roll it back in once it's empty and start taking stuff apart. So that last Saturday night that we raced, something became abundantly clear to me. And it's nobody's fault. It's just the progression of things. I've been racing basically the same car for 14 years. And in that time, a lot of cars have come and gone. The cars have gotten better, and we've always managed to keep up, you know, working on this thing, getting it better, making it faster. Problem is now there's been, you know, lobbying for different rules and stuff. When I first started, any 16 valve cars had to be standard bore, whereas because they didn't want us boring them and, you know, honing them with deck plates and stuff. And the 8 valve cars, if you had an 8 valve car, a Mustang, or the engine that would have been in this, originally the sky was the limit. You could bore it, I think you were allowed 40 thou. So you could build a really nice engine. Well, that's all gone now. Everybody can bore their engines. So there's some, I'm not saying everybody does it, but there's some, you know, pretty decent engines out there. I can't blame the guys. They want to go fast. They want to win. Unfortunately for us, this old car is all, you know, it's all beat to hell. And I just was not in a place where I wanted to start sending engines to the machine shop. I mean, once you do that, in order to kind of compete with those guys, I need this thing turning 7,500 RPM. That means putting a 5-speed in it so I can run it in second gear, so I can get rid of that 4-speed automatic and all its parasitic loss. The only reason it's in there was that's the only thing I could get that was geared right to get me 7,000 RPM. But unfortunately, it probably sucks 30 or 40 horsepower out of the engine. To get around that, and to have those guys, they're just killing me coming up off the corner. And the only way around that for me would be a 5-speed with, we'll call it a light flywheel like everybody else has. In order to have that, I need I need an engine that can turn 7,500 RPM. So what I need really then is an engine that will stay together at 8,000 RPM, so you know it'll be safe at 7,500. Well, once you're at that point, you are into big money, like big money. Forged pistons, trick aftermarket connecting rods, all stuff that it's not exactly above board, but that's what you have to survive. You need one-piece stainless steel valves, light, everything light. Anything you can do to lighten up the valve train, that's what you got to do. And next thing you know, you spend a whole lot of money. Oh, not to mention for these Neons, like a $1,200 oil pan. And I just wasn't ready to start doing that. I'm gonna sit back, be happy and satisfied that we were able to do what we were able to do. And I never ever worried about what the other guys had. I worried about what I have, because like the old saying goes, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops. You got what you got to get to the other end, and that's it. You don't like getting beat, go home and work on your car. That's what it all boils down to. So I never worried too much about that stuff, but at the same time, I'm at like a plateau where I want to be investment wise in a Saturday night mini stock that gets the shit beat out of it, and we race for $150. It's just not that important to me. I am much happier to show up with this bucket of bolts with an engine that is so shot. You have to look at what we had to do to keep the blow-by from going all over the header and filling the car with smoke and getting me black flagged. This thing, after the race, they checked the compression. This thing had 150 in all four holes. It should have like at least 190. It's shot. And we still, because it's a great car that drives so nice, we were still able to hang on for a third place finish at the end of 50 laps. That's amazing. This car is, like I said before, the car is a legend. The driver has nothing to do with it. It's the car. Anyway, looks like the rad's empty now. Let's get to work. I've jumped the relay over there, and right now we're pumping all the fuel out of it. If that's good fuel, I'll throw it in my duster or something. Now we're slowly picking away at things here. I got the header and the exhaust completely out. The front of the engine's all stripped down. The oil's drained. The transmission is drained. I've got all the brakes and everything off. I've got the axles out. When you take the axles out of these little cars, you need to put a great big bolt nut through there. That'll keep the wheel bearing from coming apart when you're rolling it around. Otherwise, when you start rolling it around, the hub will start walking out, and next thing you know, ba-boom, just like NASCAR, the wheel comes off. So that'll keep that forever. We'll be able to roll this thing around. And I'm going to have to get some washers and pack these studs up a little bit so that when we put the wheels on, we don't run out of thread. Well, there we are. I've got the engine and transmission out of it. We'll back crane up. It'll be a little dicey because we're going to go off the pad onto the gravel, but it's pretty hard packed here. And then once it's on the floor, I'll separate the transmission from it, and we can put the engine in the corner for now. All right, now that that's out, it's sitting right here in this really hot sun in the doorway here, so I'm gonna come hide in here and do a little work for a minute while I cool off. I'm gonna go ahead and put the wheels back on. So what I've done is on each stud I've put just a 5/8 nut, because you can see there that shoulder, the nut will only run down to there and hit the shoulder. So there, that solves two problems. It covers up the shoulder so we can run the nuts down, and the tire, I noticed, was very, very close to this strut because of the camber we have in it. So that'll solve two problems. Oh, there we are, all done under the hood. The engines and lives that this thing has seen, to imagine. It started with a 2.5 single point throttle body injected engine. Then we went to the 2.5 with a carburetor, but still letting the onboard computer run the ignition. Then we had a cut down Ford Pinto distributor, a mechanical advanced distributor modified to fit in it. So then it was running old school with a carburetor and a distributor. Then after that, we went to the Neon engines, and slowly over the years, they just got better and better and better till we started getting into the Magnum engines. Then we got a long tube header. Then we got this. Then we got that. And yeah, this engine compartment has seen a lot of stuff, man. The one thing I could say that was never, ever in this car has never, ever had a twin cam engine of any kind in it. Although we did have lots of twin cam engines in the Neon. 2 liters, 2.4s, we tried everything. Anyway, that's it for now. Under here, anyway, you can see some of the stuff. Look at this. The ghosts of wrecks past. Wow. Unbelievable. This poor car is twisted and mangled. You can see there that bolt there. You can see there where we modified the K-frame so we could use second generation Neon control arms on it. Didn't have to modify the front. The front pivot point of the Neon A-arm in the 3 dimensions of space was in the same place as the Daytona one. But this K-frame was for dual pivot. So we had to modify the back end of it. And that was doing that was a big difference maker in how I was able to keep the front end of this car how I wanted it, get it set up how I wanted it. And second generation Neon control arms, same as PT Cruiser. They were just so much easier to get. I had destroyed all my Daytona control arms. I didn't have any more. And you can see the plate on the firewall here and the little push rod from when we got rid of the power booster and converted it to a manual brake system. I like that much better. Way better feel. I've also been working on the interior a bit now. I've got the gauge cluster out. I've got the big tachometer out. Now what I've got to do is get the seat and the belts out. Well, that's the inside of it done. We got our cheesy seat put in. The steering wheel that was in it, that's my nice long acre wheel, and it had a quick change thing on it. So I had to remove the hex thing off the end of the steering shaft. So I just welded an old 9/16 nut to it. I got this crappy old 17-inch wheel. It's a little loose, but it's on. Good enough. All that's left now is to get the back brakes off, get my fuel pump out from under it, and she's done. Alrighty, I've got the back brakes off. A couple of things. You can see here, there's our the packer on top of the spring here. We used to just make them out of 1/2-inch plywood, so you could put it. This one looks like it's got about 4 of them in there. And that's how we would do that. Not as handy as a wedge bolt, sticking up through the back window, but at least this wasn't too bad. We just unhooked the shock and the sway bar, let the thing hang down, and you could stick one in there and go, right? Let's talk about sway bars. That's something else interesting. This car never had a front sway bar. We never ever ran a front sway bar, but another one of our little tricks, it actually has 2 on the back. So these front-wheel drive Mopars, the trailer axle here, or the trailing axle, you can see there it's this U-shaped piece of channel that is the main beam. Don't look at this. This is the track bar. But the main piece of the axle is a U-shaped channel. And if you could see underneath it there, I don't know if I could, I don't feel like crawling under there. There's a steel pipe inside the U, and that is the rear sway bar. And they had several different sizes. This one here feels like a big one. So this axle has come out of a turbo car. And then on top of that, I needed a little bit more. So we added, this is the rear sway bar from a second generation Neon. It's not the big RT one. It's the small one from like an SXT Sport. But that gave us just that little bit extra that we needed at the back. Another thing too that bears mentioning while we're talking about suspension and stuff, there was nothing magic about the setup in this car. The back springs and the left front spring in this car are the ones it left the factory with in 1989. Now the one on the left front, it's been cut down a little bit, and these ones were not cut down. All we had to do on the back was there was thick rubber spacers at the top and the bottom that we took out. But the rear springs were not cut. And the only spring that doesn't belong to the car is this one here. And you can see here, it's half, or maybe a little less than half, of the front spring from like an 80s Dodge half-ton pickup. And that's it. We ran this here, the struts are KYB XLG. I only ran one of those on the right front. The other side, whatever I can find, it didn't really matter. It didn't really do anything. And same thing on the back. I think, yeah, they're just whatever was on sale at Rock Auto. Yeah, nothing special here, but I'll tell you, it worked. Well, that's all of that done, and it's the end of an era. This video started in this car, and it's going to end in this car. It's kind of a strange, surreal moment. We've just been through so much together, this whole thing, and me, and everybody that, you know, my dad and Daryl and Deb and Deb's dad and my brother, everybody, you know, over the years that have kept this thing going and supported me and everything like that. Anyway, we're going to move on to different things now. I don't know if bigger things or better things, but different things. This thing is going to get, we've got a nice little corner out in the yard. We're going to put this thing so, you know, we can look at it and smile when we go past it on the lawnmower. And that's that. We're done. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Hope you'll come back and see us again as we go on our next adventure. And until then, this is Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage. Ain't she pretty?